My name is Elaine-Richer. I am a founder and CEO of the company called MyCureAll. I'm joined here by my husband and COO, Jacques Nier, and we are here to represent our company, MyCureAll. We're a public benefit corporation operating in the tri-state area of New York City. So we are in New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and actually Florida as well, although it's not part of the tri-state area. We bring a lot of experience into the medicinal cannabis world, and we are concentrating only on medicinal cannabis. I'm a pharmacist. I've been a pharmacist for 25 years. Worked as a pharmacist for CVS, Rite Aid, Walgreens, as well as the field leader. My goal was always to make the patient's life better, to make them healthier, to make them more productive. And people that represent our company, we have physicians, we have some IP attorneys involved, insurance attorneys, social workers, substance abuse directors.
Please put up slide one. So, my name is Jacques Nier, as you heard. I'm a director of a mental health clinic in the Bronx. I'm also an adjunct professor at Columbia University. I'm also taking on a dual role of being the COO and co-founder with MyCureAll. We all know people in our lives that have been afflicted and suffered from substance abuse, opiate dependence, addiction, and death. I want you to take a look at the first slide, and you see that the trifecta from the 1990s to 2013, where you dealt with the prescriptions, you dealt with heroin, and then you're now dealing with synthetics, and the progression that it's moving. From this period of time, there's over 400,000 deaths from overdose. What's also interesting to see from this slide is that according to NIH, that substance abuse costs in this country is over $600 billion per year. I also want to reflect that if you have, and I want to go more to the stats, that there, for those states where medicinal cannabis and recreational marijuana and cannabis have been legalized, there was a 30% decrease in overdoses from opiates. And in the same breath, there's a 5% decrease in opiates being prescribed. Elaine?
Okay, so obviously, as we all, heard from Jacques, we realized we started concentrating first on the opioid epidemic, and then we realized how helpful cannabis can be in plethora of other conditions. And medical cannabis, and I know I've heard, someone disagree before, but medical cannabis has been recognized in the scientific community. It is being studied quite a bit right now, as well as an excellent method of treatment for a lot of medical conditions. However, the current method of recommending, you can't even say prescribing because it's not legal, is inadequate. It's inadequate for patients because the patients are not being given the product that they need. It's not really indicated specifically for their condition. Nobody's taking into account their age, their sex, the symptoms that they're experiencing, because even though we might have the same condition, the symptoms might be very different. Physicians, there's only 6% of medical schools that currently teach endocannabinoid system, so physicians are really at a loss. And even though the population of the medical cannabis patients is growing, there's not more physicians entering medical cannabis programs, which is why they've been open to nurse practitioners, which is why they've been open to physician assistants. And again, there's still not enough people that can prescribe, that can recommend the product. Dispensaries can't manage their inventory sufficiently, so there's a lot of issues obviously with that. And the med treatments and harm reduction specialists are actually unable to recommend optimal dosing and strains for clients that present with comorbidities, because again, substance use disorder is only one issue. People usually have a reason why they have the substance use disorder in the first place. So the MyCureAll app is the solution to a lot of this. The MyCureAll app enables patients, physicians, dispensaries, and insurance companies to work hand in hand to achieve the natural solution to a plethora of medical conditions. Through our patent-pending technology, this is very bizarre.
Are you missing slides?
I'm missing something. So through our patent-pending technologies, we have a Cannameter and we have a puff journey. Doctors are able to identify and recommend specific strains and cannabinoids for a condition as well as the symptoms that the patient is experiencing. And we've been testing with physicians in the state of New Jersey for quite a while now. Dispensaries will be able to manage their inventory as well as carry the product that their patients need. So we're currently testing, we're beta testing our web app in 2 dispensaries in Pennsylvania. Thank you. And that's where we're getting the information specific to how the dispensary manages inventory, as well as to what patients actually need. Obviously, insurance companies, because the end result of all of this, we would like to get medical cannabis covered by the insurance, because it is a medical product that's being used as medicine, and $500 an ounce is not something that most folks can afford. So that's what we're going for. We've been successful in a number of states. We are working with each patient individually currently. The laws are changing. A lot of workers' compensation programs are now covering medicinal cannabis. And obviously, patients will be receiving their correct medicine. So Jacques is going to talk a little bit about...
So the one thing I forgot to mention, this is kind of the funner, the slide seems half up.
I would press that button down to try and get it upside down.
Yeah, there's really no...
Okay, it's not working.
Okay, it's...
There we go.
There we go.
There we go. Okay. So we're building an ecosystem for the medicinal cannabis client to come to a one-place shopping, and for those clients that might be very sensitive about their use of medicinal cannabis. And so this is actually called the puff journey. And the puff session, I know the name says it all, right? But we actually import certain conditions from the client. We ask them questions when they're entering. We ask cannabinoid questions, THC, CBD relationships. We ask them about what type of cannabis is to be used, what apparatus they're using. We then take 3 baseline symptoms that they indicate from a long list, right? Now the qualifying conditions are qualifying conditions for the 4 states that we're in. Right? So we take a baseline for those 3 particular symptoms, and then we ask them to take a puff of their particular cannabis that they enjoy, right? They then come back into the system and it's recorded. We then ask them to come back in and rate their symptoms based on that particular puff and that particular use of their medicinal cannabis to record. They're allowed to do this 3 times. There's a subjective data that's now recorded in the system that shows a reduction. If it records an indication of 15% or less of their symptomology, it is recorded as a positive effect for that client, right? We do this a couple of times, and then we can go over to the cannabidiol. So the cannabidiol. This is now we're dealing with the condition, not just the symptoms. The conditions are used as a recommendation for the doctor. Doctors over and over are telling us they don't know what to do with their client if they don't have a particular strain in a dispensary. What other strains can they use? So what this does is we have meta-analysis studies, 356 studies that we have within our program that allow us to take those CBD-THC ratios and make that combination and allow between the actual condition and make other comparisons so that they can actually follow that and quickly give a recommendation because a dispensary might not have the strain that they need in particular. Elaine?
So we can spend a lot more time discussing basically
we
what,
have slides about the journey if anyone's ever
right,
interested.
if everybody's interested, or we can obviously have it on our website. It is a web app that's available currently. So accomplished to date, we've been in business for about 1.5 years. We obviously developed the beta version of the app. We've established ourselves as expert in the medical cannabis field. Been teaching in Columbia, in Long Island University. We've are working on a cannabis summit that will be taking place in northern New Jersey in April with William Patterson University. Our protocols are being tested in the William Patterson University, as well as we're working with Rutgers Medical School and University Hospital to set up our medical study for protocols for the currently enrolled patients into their substance use disorder program. We have a large growth strategy. A very big part of it is going to be targeted medical advertising because we're really going to be collecting all the data on the patient. And having all the data on the patient, you will now know what that patient will need. Either they need parking by the hospital, either they need a blanket because they'll be undergoing chemotherapy, or an ice cap because they're undergoing chemotherapy. It will be something that the patient specifically needs while they're in treatment. We have some competition in space due to time constraints. I'm not gonna go through this.
At this point, let me let you roll into the question and answer session because we ran out of time. So
Okay.
Presentation. So anybody have any questions?
Is the takeaway here if a patient is interested in using cannabis, medical cannabis, they come to you because you're a one-stop shop. Is that the dummy down takeaway?
So currently our cohort is the physicians and the dispensaries. So the physicians and the dispensaries and the patient. So the patient will have the utilization of our app. Right now, they do not need to have a medicinal cannabis card. So if they're a recreational user and they want to go through our medical journey and they want to go and take any medical assessment, they absolutely have an ability to do that. So we want to make sure that that's available.
Oh, you're sounding like a politician. I just need a yes or no. Do patients people who want to use cannabis for medical solutions, are you a one-stop shop that they should come to?
Yes, we're in the ecosystem for the medicinal cannabis client. We want those clients to take our assessment tools. We can bring them into the system for a variety of different conditions, qualified conditions. The states have seen a 30% increase when you go to recreational as well, in clients applying for medicinal cannabis cards.
Okay.
How do you plan to monetize this ecosystem?
So
Put on the next slide.
currently, yep, so currently right now, the goal is, so you saw how many patients are between the 4 states. So this is New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Florida. We have almost 23 million patients that are qualified for medical cannabis. So what we're looking at right now is we're looking to monetize from the dispensaries, the fee is $145 per month, and from recommenders, which the fee is $45 per month.
Built a CEU course to bring in more recommenders as this process continues, so they're educated on how medicinal cannabis affects people positively.
But the goal is, at the end of the day, is to go through this for revenue, specifically through targeted medical advertising.
Wait, so who's paying the $45 a month?
That would be a physician, and $145 is a dispensary.
Also, nurse practitioners now in New York State.
Yes?
Have you guys thought about exploring conversations with Kaiser and looking at this as an API to annex their paperless Epic system?
We would love to open that conversation and dialogue. I mean, at this point, we're building out on beta version. We do have an insurance journey where we're building out a claim for the insurance company with all the parameters and the history of the clients and medical records.
One more question, and we'll move to the next presenter.
Yes?
The data that you're collecting from the patients, is it just word of mouth or does it get biometric?
So the data that we currently have 356 studies that are in our database. The data that we're collecting from the patients is going to be from the patient, so it is subjective. And then Cannameter is going to be collecting the data from the physicians or from recommenders, so it should, because there are nurse practitioners and physician assistants involved.